Alright, hello, I'm Dr. Mary White, and I'm a chiropractor and applied clinical nutritionist in the Austin, Texas area. I'm here to talk to you today about sugar handling dysfunction. The truth is, if you have any extra body weight, or maybe a little extra belly fat, or if you get hypoglycemic, in other words, you get that little panicky feeling before you have a meal that might be late, something like that, you are actually on a progression to type 2 diabetes. That's kind of scary, isn't it? Type 2 diabetes is debilitating and a life-threatening disease. And if you have any of those symptoms that we mentioned, you are on that progression. So let me explain this a little bit better. First of all, I'm going to start with a cell. Got cells all over your body. They've got a double layer of membrane around them. And inside the cell, you might remember this from biology way back in high school, there's a little organelle called a mitochondria. And S for sugar. Sugar goes through a series of enzymatic reactions called the Krebs cycle, and out comes energy. It's in the form of a little molecule called ATP, if you remember that. Alright, so there's cells, sugar goes in, we get energy out. Now, let's think about it. Let's think about eating sugar. Let's say you eat about this amount of sugar. Alright? You have pancreas, P for pancreas. Your pancreas puts out an equivalent amount of insulin, I for insulin. The reason for that is on cell membranes, you have all these little receptors. Actually, you have thousands of different kinds of receptors, but we're going to focus on the insulin receptors today. So when you eat a certain amount of sugar, equivalent amount of insulin produced, because over here in the cell, the receptor hooks onto one insulin molecule, one sugar molecule, and when that happens, this whole little receptor changes conformation, and essentially it creates a little channel in the cell membrane. That channel is so the sugar can get in. Otherwise, the sugar is out here in the bloodstream and it can't get in. So by hooking onto the receptor, the sugar is able to get into the cell. We can go through the Krebs cycle and get out energy. Great! That's when it works correctly. Now, if you're someone who has been eating way too many carbs, by the way, carbohydrates are just sugars hooked together. Alright? Still sugar. If you've been eating too many carbohydrates throughout your life, too many processed foods, then what happens is, we'll talk about it here. First of all, too many processed foods mean that you have eaten damaged fats. Hydrogenated fats are damaged fats. Trans fats, as in margarines and so on, those are damaged fats. And those damaged fats get incorporated into your cell membrane. That means that that cell membrane is not as fluid as it should be. The fluidity of that membrane means everything as far as whether these receptors can function properly. Alright, so if you've eaten a lot of carbs, a lot of processed foods, let's just say that your cell membrane isn't working right and your receptors are not functional. Do you know what that means? That means insulin resistance. That's what insulin resistance is. The insulin receptors are not, well, they're either too few in number or they're not working correctly. So now let's see. So let's go back. You eat a certain amount of sugar, but your receptors aren't working correctly. So guess what? All this sugar in your bloodstream cannot get into the cell as it should. So you've got sugar hanging around. After a little while, your body goes, sugar's around. So what is your body's response to that? To make more insulin. Except, did we really have more sugar? No. It's the same amount of sugar. It wasn't all getting into the cells because of the membrane dysfunction. So now I have a situation where I have high insulin compared to sugar. Do you know what that is? That is a hypoglycemic state. Hypo refers to less. Glyceme refers to sugar. A hypoglycemic state. Again, that's that little panicky, that little shaky feeling if you've missed a meal. Alright? And what is your response to that? You eat sugar, right? You drink some juice, you eat a candy bar, you drink a soda, you get something into your system fast. So what do? You have some more sugar. Except now we've got more sugar. What's your body's response to that? More insulin. Do you see that there's a constant disequilibrium between sugar and insulin? Alright? And when we have those periods of high insulin, some other things happen. That high insulin triggers in your liver a little enzyme. Again, here's your liver. An enzyme, guess what? That makes cholesterol. Alright? Why do we need more cholesterol when we have high insulin? Because high insulin is telling us we've got excess sugar hanging around. When there's excess sugar, your body doesn't know what to do with it. It's going to store it in a fat cell. It hooks together 3 sugars. Have you heard of this? Triglyceride, all right? It hooks together 3 sugars that needs to be stored in a fat cell, except that triglyceride cannot get to the fat cell on its own. It needs cholesterol as a carrier molecule. So that's why high insulin, we know there's too much sugar in the system. Your body automatically makes more cholesterol to carry triglycerides to the fat cell to be stored. Do you see how all this dysfunction works together? Why someone who is on that progression to type 2 diabetes has excess body fat, high triglycerides, high cholesterol, and they're in insulin resistance. This whole process can be reversed, and I'm here to tell you that's possible. I myself, I've lost 84 pounds in a matter of months because I know the keys to this physiology and how to eat simply, effectively, very healthily to reverse this whole process. And in the next video, I'll tell you exactly how to do that for yourself. Thank you. I'm Dr. Mary, and I'll see you next time.